Friends and family, it is time for another uncomfortable conversation with a married woman. In this episode, we're going to talk about infidelity. Now, we're going to put a spin on this one. We want to talk about if the infidelity has happened and the other spouse does not know. Should you tell or should you not? Go ahead and grab a drink, grab a snack, and let's talk. Okay, so I'm going to share some statistics with you from the National Health and Social Life Survey. So this survey found that 4% of married men, 16% of cohabiting men, and 37% of dating men engaged in acts of sexual infidelity in the previous year, compared to 1% of married women, 8% of cohabitating women, and 17% of women in dating relationships. So basically it happens. Now, it's very interesting, when you bring up that argument as to should you tell, let's say you were the one that did it, should you tell or should you not tell? I don't think there's an absolute answer. In my opinion, and this is my opinion only, you have to think about a few things. Number one, the emotional maturity of your spouse. That's number one. Number two, was that on your list of deal breakers in your marriage? And that is a previous episode I talked about, that every marriage has to have that discussion about what is a deal breaker or not. And then number three, can you live with the repercussions if you tell or don't tell? And I'm going to just walk you through my train of thought on that. Let's say hypothetically, I'm in a marriage, I'm the one that did the cheating. My spouse doesn't know at all, doesn't even have a clue, whether I did that or not. Should I tell or should I not tell? This is my train of thought. And this is, again, it's my opinion only. So if you agree, great. If you don't agree, that's fine. But I want to know what you think about it. So the first thing I'd look at is, again, my spouse's emotional maturity. There are some people that can handle the truth, whether it's a bad truth or a good truth, they can handle it emotionally. There are also some people that are so emotionally imbalanced or delicate that it is I don't want to say highly possible, but it is possible that something like that can devastate them for the rest of their lives, or may even cause them to want to take their lives. So it is very important for you to understand the emotional maturity of your spouse at that time. At the same time, I also feel the truth always comes to light. And it seems worse when it comes to light inadvertently, where you weren't expecting it, and it comes out. Either somebody's like, oh, I think I saw you last time getting to the hotel with your wife. I just saw you, like 2 weeks ago going to that hotel in whatever area. And your wife's like, we haven't been to any hotel in the last couple of weeks. You know what I mean? That is a completely different way of your spouse finding this thing out, as opposed to, honey, I got to tell you something, and I'm ashamed of it. I'm really, really ashamed. And, but I want to be honest, and I want you to know, and I'm blah, 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 and then you go on. So the emotional maturity is important. The timing of it is very, very important. There's never a good time. There will never be a good time for your spouse to hear that situation. You know what I mean? But you want to be delicate in informing them of what it is. Maybe if it was on your list of a deal breaker situation, you need to, because usually, like I said in the deal breaker video, you have planned out, if this happens, that's the repercussion. If that happens, that's the repercussion. And if you've broken one of those deals, then maybe you should take that next step yourself. You don't got to be told, because you all decided, what it was. You know what I mean? So it's very important to think through that, the emotional stability of your spouse, and then, if it was a deal breaker situation. And then the last thing, but not the least, is if you did tell, what is the next thing that is happening? If you didn't tell, what is the next happening? Can you live with yourself? Can you live with that lie? Can you live with the fact that you went outside of your marriage and cheated on your spouse? Some people can, and some people can't. So it is something that you have to think about. But like I said, from my perspective, the truth always comes to light at some point. Sometimes it's 20 years later and it comes to light. The emotion won't be different. I can tell you that. I saw that with my own two eyes. The emotion won't be different. I saw a situation where a child came out of it, and the child was a teenager at that point, before the husband said to the wife, listen, I did this many years ago, blah, 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 and I'm so sorry. The emotion is not any different because it was that long ago. It's still, okay. So you have to be very, very, very careful. A lot of times when somebody doesn't tell, when one spouse doesn't tell the other that infidelity happened, it's because they're afraid of the repercussions. And yes, you have to be afraid. If you've been the one to do that, you have to be afraid, because it's not good news. It's I don't even know how to say it. I don't know how to say it. It's not something that you're excited to share. That will bring something positive out of your marriage, and it will definitely change your marriage. It will change it for sure. I don't know the percentage of marriages that survive after that, or that thrive after that, as opposed to the ones that end up in divorce, or the ones that the dynamics change for the negative for the rest of the marriage. I don't know. But it is something worth looking at. So for any of you out there, if this has happened and you haven't told your spouse, I know my answer is neither here nor there, but think about it and think through it, and make sure that whatever you decide to do, it is in the best interest of you and your spouse. That's what I'm going to tell you. I can't tell you anything else, what to do, what not to do. But whatever you decide to do has to be in the best interest of yourself and your spouse. Whichever case, whichever way the chips may fall, you can never do it again. Because it's almost guaranteed at that point, if you do it again and your spouse finds out, it's just, you know what I mean? But I feel like there are a lot of marriages that there are those kinds of secrets, and you have to be very careful in how you navigate that. It's very, very sensitive, and it's a possible deal breaker situation. So I'm going to leave you on that cliffhanger. So remember, to have a wonderful marriage, for your marriage to thrive, you must respect yourself and your spouse, and you must be kind to yourself and your spouse. On that note, I will see you in the very next video. Take care of yourself, okay?